Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
And good evening. On this June 21st, 2025, 7:31 Central, 8:31 Eastern Standard, and America has gone to war with Iran. President Trump put out a Truth Social tonight announcing striking multiple nuclear facilities in Iran. And yet he also said now he wants peace. But is that going to bring peace, or is it really just going to bring a Middle Eastern war tonight? We're going to be joined by an expert panel. Colonel Rob Maness of robmaness.com, Annie Cyrus of liveuptofreedom.com, David Pine of dpine.substack.com, and Leo Holman of leoholman.com. Some of us had an indication this might happen today, so much so that I made my Saturday night dinner reservations for 4:45 p.m. this afternoon. I said, babe, we're going out to dinner, and it's going to be like we're 80 years old. We're going to go before the young people hit the restaurant. We'll have it all to ourselves. She's like, why are we going so early? I said, I think we're going to war. I need to get back home and get in a suit. So here we are. Good thing I did it. You know what, by the way, I think these senior citizens have something going when they hit those restaurants at 4:45. I think that might be my pattern. I loved it. I had the whole place to myself and a lot of attention from the waiters and waitresses. But a lot of folks were standing by waiting for this to happen, thinking it might be in the next several days, but it has now happened. We are now getting footage out of the Middle East. Here are some of the first shots coming in tonight as I go to my computer there. Look at that. And we're going to bring you more as we bring on the panel tonight and discuss it. It is not going well for President Trump, even among some of the MAGA crowd. Some of the more conservatives. Congressman Massey has put out that this is unconstitutional, what President Trump has done. Alex Jones has put out an image of President Trump's picture merged with that of George W. Bush and said, is this what you voted for? I'm wondering if George H. Bush, George W.'s daddy, isn't he the one that said no new taxes, read my lips? And that did not go well for him in his reelection bid. I'm wondering if this could indeed be a political issue for President Trump for the midterms. I don't know. There's a lot of debate on this online tonight, but we're going to bring on a panel. They're going to share facts, and of course, they're also free to share their opinions and thoughts on this, because I'm sure you want to have their opinions and thoughts as well as the facts we can present in this very fluid situation. Why don't you tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social? Well, I don't know. Truth Social may not even be up, because we heard that within minutes of President Trump announcing this on Truth Social, it went down. I don't know if that was a cyber attack or just too many people going on Truth Social, but hopefully it'll come back up. But please tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever you do, let your family and friends know. YouTube, X, we're all there on all these platforms. WorldYouTube.com, Roku, our iPhone app, our Android app, Truth Plus, we're on there as well. Rumble, I think we're there. We're on all kinds of platforms. We are hearing that the president will address the country tonight at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. That will be in about an hour and 25 minutes. Joining me now is our very esteemed panel, as I already said. We're going to be joined by Colonel Rob Maness, Leo Holman, Annie Cyrus, and David Pine. Folks, thank you for so very quickly interrupting Logan. Or Leo, if we get you to frame in just a little bit, we're getting the top of your head chopped off. But if we could get, thank you for joining us tonight. And interrupting your Saturday evening, guys, to be with us. Let's go first to you, if we could, David Pine. We'll let you go first and set the tone of the evening. David, what are your thoughts? This came a lot. You and I have been texting pretty much on and off all day. Leo and I have as well. Annie and I have had a phone conversation today as well. Annie didn't think this would maybe happen for another day or so. You and I think, thought this might start tomorrow evening, U.S. time. So this kind of caught a lot of people off guard. What are your thoughts tonight, David?
Well, this is a disaster for U.S. foreign policy. The U.S. has been under President Trump has been trying to promote peace, and instead has started this new war. And this war is it's not with a small country like Iraq or Libya or Syria. This is a country that's arguably a great power. It's a country that has 75 times more territory than Israel. It's got over 9 times more population. It's got a strong army, Air Force and Navy. Nothing there really. But it's got a massive nuclear capable missile force. As we've discussed, it likely has underground nuclear missiles. Certainly, we know of mobile MRBMs deep underground and missile silos that remain untouched. It has 2 super EMP satellites, as Tommy Waller, a former retired lieutenant colonel in the Marines, who is CEO of the Center for Security Policy. It's got a wide range of capabilities to retaliate against this attack from the U.S., including cyber offensives. It has perhaps the 5th strongest cyber offensive capabilities in the world, behind the U.S., Russia, China, and North Korea. And it has terror cells. It has terror cells that have been in place for the last 20 years, which could take action along with PLA special forces to take down our grid from within or conduct sabotage or assassination attacks. So this is really opening Pandora's box. And the only question is, how does Iran respond? If Iran responds in a measured way that doesn't kill too many American soldiers, maybe Trump could say, okay, we attacked you, you attacked us back. Let's do a ceasefire now, and we won't retaliate to your retaliatory strike. But I think it's much more likely that Trump will respond tit for tat, just as Iran and Israel did during the previous missile exchange last year. But this likely will just keep escalating up the nuclear escalatory spiral.
And so how quick do you think we would receive retaliatory strikes from Iran or their proxies, David?
It could be within hours. I mean, I would be surprised if it didn't happen by early tomorrow.
Let's go to our next military guy on the panel, Colonel Rob Maness. Colonel, what are your thoughts tonight, and what are your concerns for the homeland?
Well, as I've said all along, the president has gone through a very deliberative process, and has weighed all of his options. I would just comment that this is one of the best deception operations that I think the American military and the United States government have ever pulled off. I think most people were fooled that something might happen that was not going to be an airstrike, or that it would be not in the near future as of yesterday. So I think they did a good job at that. However, the big hint factor was when he left Bedminster to come back to the White House, to the Situation Room. He doesn't like spending the weekends, as Steve Bannon said, on the White House property. He likes to go somewhere else. And I don't blame him.
That was a big hit, big hint. I said that to my wife. I said, it's a Saturday night. President Trump normally likes to have himself surrounded by friends, have his iPad with music. I don't see this guy roaming the halls of the White House on a Saturday night, bored out of his mind, unless something's about to happen beyond just a meeting in the sit room. I mean, he has secure communications wherever he goes. So, I think that was a big tell. Do you agree with David Pine that we could, Colonel, be seeing retaliatory strikes tonight on our assets in the Middle East?
Oh, I don't know the timing, and as David said, it could be as soon as within a couple hours, but there will be retaliation. There's no doubt about that. The Iranian leadership has not given up. They're not going to unconditionally surrender, I don't think. It doesn't appear that way. I'm looking at a video that is purported to be the Fordow facility right now. Large amounts of flames and smoke rising from it, which means if there was radioactive material, highly enriched uranium in there, that's been particularized and atomized and is floating up in the atmosphere now. So there'll be that's one of the consequences of striking this.
Is
who
that
knows how
seeing,
much
Colonel?
that will be? That's the image I'm seeing. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
So will this
unconfirmed,
have fallout?
what
Will
the
this have-
location of this.
Well,
If we struck deep down into the heart of the facility and blew up the highly enriched uranium, if there was some there, there has to be some fallout, because that smoke will rise up through whatever holes are there. The dirt and the granite got overturned and thrown up in the air with huge clouds and plumes just with the detonation of the weapons. So this is not a perfect thing. The science is always imperfect with weaponeering, and especially going after these hardened and deeply buried targets. And I'm a little bit concerned about the president's statement touting success. Yeah, if the air crews got in and out safely and we didn't take any losses and those kind of things, that's one mark of success. But we have to remember what the goal is here. The goal is that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, and now the United States has entered this war. As I said yesterday, and I'll say it again today, it will not be a one and done. The Iranians will not let it be a one and done. I would project that unlike what happened after the General Soleimani hit, which we did on ground that we technically owned because it was our combat zone, by the way, and he was there as an enemy combatant. And that the response for that was a minimal missile strike. Didn't kill anybody that I remember, but it hurt a lot of people and those kind of things. So, and that was minimal. And then the president, was restrained and didn't respond to that and let it go. But I don't expect that will be the case this time. I hope I'm wrong. I tweeted out, look, action taken. I hope my colleagues and I are completely wrong about all of the unintended consequences that could come of this. Pray for peace and keep your head on a swivel, especially here, because we know there are Iranian cells in this country. There are Iranian cells in this country. Common sense dictates that we have to be prepared for that and have to think that is the case.
And we had the CBS News and other outlets reporting that the FBI director had announced that they were monitoring Hezbollah terror cells, Iranian terror cells here in the U.S. We are also, as far as the bomb damage assessment analysis on the target, that's going to take quite some time to do that, to see whether that strike was successful to meet the objective, which is to remove Iran's nuclear capability. Now we hit 3 facilities, and he said that we dropped full bomb loads. I'm not sure what that means. Each B-2 carries 2 GBU-57s, and I would expect that there were more than 2 put into that Fordow facility. Let me go real quick before I go to the other panel members here. This is President Trump's social media post tonight, also put up at X. He said, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, Escalation, and all planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter," end quote. Now is the time for peace is the spot that is getting some pushback big time on social media, Leo, because many are saying, wait a minute, you just entered a war. How can you call for, going to the table in peace when you just entered America into the war, which Thomas Massie tonight is out on X and X saying he did so unconstitutionally. So already the fragmentation of the MAGA crowd is going. What are your thoughts on this post, Leo?
It's Orwellian, in George Orwell's 1984, war is peace, right? So we just conducted a peaceful maneuver on Iran. and Trump
we just conducted a quote peaceful maneuver.
Yes.
So when they blow up some of our American cities or start killing Americans, they can tweet out, "Hey, we're just doing a peaceful maneuver. We want
returning
peace.
the peaceful favor.
We
Yes.
want peace with you guys." Not to
Right.
laugh because this is serious, but yeah, it is kind of weird wording, right?
It absolutely is. And, Colonel Manus is correct. We don't know the fallout yet from this. My biggest concern is that there will be radioactive particulates raining down on not just Iran, but neighboring countries. Then the world gets up in arms, starts a big, huge PR campaign against America and Israel. We come under devastating terrorist attacks here at home, increased attacks abroad, wherever U.S. assets are found. We now have to be on a total defensive. As David said, it could start within hours. So, the peaceful maneuver has been concluded, and now we have to wait and see what the fallout will be. I think this day will live in infamy. I really think this was a huge mistake by President Trump. I was not surprised by it when he said that, that he was going to wait and make the decision within 2 weeks. All of the media was saying, "Oh, he put it off. He kicked the can down the road for a couple of weeks." When he said that, I knew it was imminent. I knew it would be within days, not weeks, because the United States government never does what it says. Usually it does the opposite. So I was not at all surprised tonight. But what happens from here on out is anybody's guess, Brandon.
Annie, let's bring you in. I'm sorry, ladies normally go first and you're going last. That's not very good of me as a gentleman. Sorry. Or I could say we're just saving the best for last. Annie?
Well, I appreciate that. No, that's all right. I actually wanted to hear everybody else's thoughts. As you know, I'm no expert on military at all, or war for that matter. So I will rely on what we heard from our experts. But here's what I will say. And please forgive me, as it's very rare for me to go on air on your show as an Iranian. We should have stayed out of this.
We should have stayed
out
of this.
U.S. should have stayed out of this. We do not need another CIA operation for a regime change. Nor do we need the peacemaker to try to say, "Hey, Israel, look, we just neutralized the nuke. You go for a ceasefire. I'm going to make a deal with mullahs." On both ends, as an Iranian, I pray neither one of those games plays out.
She mentions the CIA guys. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but there's a piece tonight at the Gray Zone. Trump official to Gray Zone. CIA's Radcliffe acts as Mossad stenographer on Iran. A Trump official tells the Gray Zone that Israel's Mossad is using CIA Director John Radcliffe and U.S. Sitcom's General Michael Kurella to influence Trump with cooked intelligence on Iran's nuclear program. Inside the White House, dissenters have been isolated, setting the stage for a regime change war that could cost American lives. Does anyone want to push back against that or say that that could be? Let's go with you, David. You want to push back against that or say, no, that's could be? Because Annie brought up the CIA. It reminded me of that article I read this afternoon.
It's exactly what I've been saying. I didn't know that Ratcliffe was that far on board with the Mossad, disinformation campaign that has been executed against President Trump for the last 2 to 3 months. But certainly, I knew that he was heavily involved with Waltz, Rubio, and also CENTCOM Commanding General Kurilla. And, they've just been parroting, fake, falsified Israeli intelligence briefings that Iran is mere days away from a nuclear capability. And that as soon as they, the more important part is as soon as they get that capability, they're going to use it on Tel Aviv and New York, maybe give it to some kind of terror cell. All of that is absurd. It's all false. Iran's likely had nukes for many years. Whether it's just a couple years or 20 years, they have a nuclear arsenal. They have the capability to use it. It's possible that they have a nuke already, forward deployed in the DC or New York City area or Los Angeles. And, maybe they won't do a super EMP attack. I do think that's a likely possibility in terms of kind kind of worst case scenario. A cyber attack, I think, is more likely because they could take us down that way as well. But we've really just opened up Pandora's box, and there's all kinds of existential threats that could end with the deaths of tens of millions of Americans. All this from a peace president who promised to save America from World War III and instead may have just started it.
Alex Jones put that out on X tonight. What you voted for? Oh. What you voted for? What you got? I hope this is not the case. Now, I saw this picture going around yesterday. So this has kind of been a little bit out there on social media, people saying they were afraid that this is what was going to happen. You know, again, Leo, it reminds me of the George H. Bush, George W.'s dad, read my lips, no new taxes. People are swirling out there tonight with all the former postings on social media by President Trump criticizing ever getting involved in a war in Iran, striking Iran, going to war, going into the Middle East. I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm afraid this is going to be Donald Trump's read my lips, no new taxes of George H. Bush. I think this is not this has the possibility of ending very badly for the midterms. And then, of course, that means the end of his presidency. And then, of course, the impeachment and all the other things are going to put him through and the country through for the last 2 years of his term.
Those are all valid concerns, Brandon. You know, in his first term, the globalists launched Operation COVID-19 and were able to derail his first term presidency. It looks like they may have launched World War III to derail his second presidency. And
which is what we've talked about this week. That we've talked about that. We're like, he's making such great strides domestically. He's doing so many great things. And, you know, my wife said to me that like January, February, March, April, why are the Democrats being so quiet? You know, other than the street protesters, why are most of the Democrats being so quiet? She said they must have something planned. I said, I think they do. I think we now know what it is. But also, you and I had a conversation this week. Nancy Pelosi and a lot of the other characters in the Democrat Party have been pretty quiet the last week on this. And I said, I think it's because they don't want to use up any of the oxygen in the room. They want the MAGA crowd to fight this out. They don't want to take up any press. They want all the focus to be on the dissenters, even inside the MAGA movement, and just step back and let that be the focus. Because a lot of them were kind of quiet this week, were they not?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of chatter from the Democrats as to whether we should go to war with Iran or whether we should not. I mean, I would like to know their position on this war. We know that under President Biden, they were quite warlike. Neoliberalism is just as dangerous as neoconservatism. They're both parties are completely infected by globalists, and globalists are above anything else. They're always eager to go to war, and it doesn't matter if it's, you know, the Middle East, Ukraine. They'll take advantage of whatever they can do. And it seemed like they were unsuccessful in drawing President Trump and the United States into the Ukraine war. And then suddenly this Middle East thing popped up. So, you know, the neocons are very clever. They're very crafty. And I feel like this was plan B. Plan A failed to get us involved in Ukraine against Russia, another superpower, nuclear armed superpower. So plan B, they figured it could be just as good to go after Iran and then hope that to get in a war with Russia and or China, accomplishing the same thing. The goal, as I have been saying for 3 years now, is to get America into that final takedown stage of what is known as America, the world power. And the best way, I think, to do that in the minds of the globalists is to get us involved in wars, whether that be civil war at home. We've seen the, you know, continuous stoking of people at home on the home front on both sides of the aisle at each other's throats. You know, we saw the riots just a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was very interesting how they just, you know, escalated, then boom, totally dropped off the news cycle, and we never heard another thing about it. Just then, as the Iran war was heating up. So it seems to me like the globalists are getting their wish now with dragging the United States into world war. The question I would like to hear from the other panel members: do you believe, as military men, that Russia and China will be content to sit on the sidelines and watch, or will they get involved? And if so, how? Will they just continue to use Iran as a proxy? Maybe, some other countries, Pakistan, who knows? Or will they get involved?
Let's go to Colonel. Let's start with Colonel Manus, then David Pine.
Yeah.
Colonel, you go first, please.
Yeah, I mean, everything Leo said is a major concern. We've been talking about this ever since this war started, that the potential for Russia and China to get involved is there. It's real. I think it's unlikely that Russia will do anything kinetic, and probably China, too. I mean, the most obvious thing that China might try to do is take advantage of the situation and take Taiwan kinetically while we're distracted. But I'm sure plans have been made to put a deterrent force into the Pacific that may be the B-2s that you saw being reported on that left Whiteman last night. That's what I was thinking was going on when I saw that. But there aren't very many B-2s. So that gets back to the big question, look, I've said that this type of thing for this Fordow facility and taking out these nuclear facilities and this nuclear capability, there's no way it's going to be a one and done. And the president sounds like that's what he's going to do, a one and done. We'll see. We'll see if that's the case or not. But it won't. But the objective will not be achieved. And the objective is Iran cannot have nukes, because if there's anything left at all, and the Ayatollah and his team are still in place, they will go in there. They will recover everything they can recover, and they'll start their program back up. It's inevitable. It's I'm historically accurate, I know. But this time they'll probably be more secretive even, and be more like Pakistan, where they just made it happen and then exposed it to the world. And we'll see what happens. But I'm very concerned about the reaction and what the Iranian response will be, because there will be a response, and they haven't given up. They have plenty of missiles left. They hurt Israel on the daily, and they will fire at our forces. That's why our forces have been moved around and removed from a lot of the big bases. Al-Udeid, the big Air Force base there, has been emptied out from U.S. forces.
Colonel and the rest of the panel, Gordon Chang put out 6 hours ago, and I read this to my wife and a few friends. His first tweet was, prepare to live without grid electricity for months. China is planning to hit our largely undefended and fragile grid. Then he put out, if we are attacked in the homeland, China is planning to do so. You will need canned food. Make sure you have 2 manual can openers. Think how you will live without, among other things, electrical power. I called one of my friends and in the Mid-South, and I said, if I were you, because he's not a prepper so much like I am, and I knew it. So I called him and I said, if I were you, I would be stocking up tonight. That was this afternoon as I was headed to my 4:45 dinner appointment, because I knew I better have dinner early because I thought I'd probably end up back here. He literally just texted me and said, I'm watching your show. We just got back from Costco. I replied, good move. Gordon Chang also provided a link to a document that I sent to a few of you yesterday. Look at this. Disclosed TV. China is studying how to hack and crash Western power grids. Of course, we already know from people like former CIA operations director, or former CIA operations officer, analyst, not operations officer, analyst Peter Pry, that China was in our power grid as it came out in 2018, when it was called Operation Dragonfly, I think it was called. And that was before China and Russia carried out their Vostok 18 exercise, which was then, I think, the largest military exercise in world history. Well, Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, the late CIA analyst, sat at this desk, and we streamed out live, and we used that for our documentary Siege. He said, yeah, but before the Vostok 18, Russia and China were in our grid, Operation Dragonfly. I have him on video talking about it. David, you now hold the position in the organization that our friend, the late Dr. Pry, held. You know about Operation Dragonfly, correct?
I'm not super familiar with it, but yeah, that threat is real. China has at least 466 transformers in our grid right now. So it's like I think 11% of our transformers are Chinese made, and those can all be turned off with the satellite signal that we haven't figured out how to jam yet. So that they could do that. And when we talk about how Russia and China could support a prolonged U.S.-Iran war, that would probably be one of the main things they could do. Without the need for an Iranian super EMP attack. They could do that, and there's, how would we respond to that without power? I mean, our military bases are 99% reliant on civilian power, so that would just shut us down. It would shut down our ability to surge forces into both theaters of war and potentially Europe as well, because Russia could also take advantage of this. They could, nuke Ukraine and retake the Baltics. And there's not a lot we can do about it. But most likely Russia and China will ramp up their arms shipments to Iran. China, I think, invariably, if this goes on for 2 weeks or more, they're going to invade Taiwan, and it's going to be over before we can do anything about it.
Of course, invading Taiwan
Trump could take us to war with China and Iran simultaneously.
And invading Taiwan, that's where we get about 90% of our chips for critical infrastructure, hospitals, all kinds of stuff we need, right, David?
Yeah, 90% of advanced semiconductors are made in Taiwan. Most people think that those facilities would be destroyed either by us, by the Taiwanese, or by the Chinese. Probably not by China, but in the process of them trying to take those facilities, they likely would be destroyed. So it's unlikely that China would be able to capture those and use those for a monopoly, but they certainly could deny it to us. Certainly, and cut off trade to us. I mean, they could shut down our advanced weapons production because the majority of our critical weapons components are produced with Chinese critical components and rare earths.
I'm going to go to Colonel Manus, but I want to give a heads up to Annie because I know she's busy collecting information. Annie was born and raised in Iran. For any new folks joining us tonight, born and raised in Iran. Or she prefers me to say Iran. She speaks Farsi, and so she's able to just scour what's going on. She communicates with people over there who are using VPNs. So we're going to get an update from her in just one moment. It's a little heads up to her to be ready with that update. But Colonel, the Washington Times put out today, I was doing a lot of work and research this afternoon, thinking that I might need to go live tonight, so I better do show prep. And in my research this morning, I found a Washington Times article. DHS warns smuggled Chinese jammers pose growing threat. Illegal electronic devices used to thwart police communications during heists. That's a little troubling. Add that to the fact we've got 2 Chinese folks caught in the last couple of weeks coming in with biological weapons. One involved in some kind of agro-terrorism, I guess is what they wanted, that would have destroyed our wheat crops. I mean, we already know the terror cells are here, the 100,000 plus Chinese military-age males. We know that Russia, China, Iran, North Korea are all in some kind of military alliance. Do you think the alliance between China and Iran is, respond first to this DHS report, but also do you think the alliance is stronger between China and Iran as it is between Iran and Russia?
As to the report, nobody should be surprised by that. We've been talking about the estimated maybe even 100,000 Chinese military-age males that came through the border and through our airports and ports illegally, thanks to Joe Biden for years now. So no one should be surprised by that. What people need to be concerned about is that Gordon Chang doesn't usually send out information like he did, Brandon. I tweet all the time, hey, buy more guns and ammo and train and talk to your neighbors. And I talk about it on my space that is broadcast along with my show on occasion, because people should be exercising their Second Amendment right. And this is the reason right here. We are at risk, and you should be really prepared for anything right now, because there are a lot of people inside this country that want to do America harm. As far as the relationship between China and Iran, Look, China, they buy 90% of Iran's oil export. 90%. That makes up 13% of China's oil imports. 13%. That's a huge amount of cheap oil because they're getting it on the cheap right now due to the sanctions and everything. So just that economic factor and logistics factor gives one pause to see what they're going to do. Look, they would need to get Russia, Iran, most of the BRICS nations to attack us to really make a go at taking down the United States of America. I don't think they're that capable at this point, but the possibility is there that they're going to pull the trigger on something internally to the country to try to disrupt our society. It's always been there, and it just increases the possibility with now us entering this war in the offensive way with Iran, and that's the concern. But we'll see what the president says. He seems to be thinking this is a one and done thing, but his goal won't be achieved if that is the case. There's no doubt about that.
And we will be carrying his address. I'm assuming it's either going to come from the Oval Office or the East Wing. If I had to guess, being a weekend, it's going to come from the Oval Office.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing, Brian? The video we were looking at earlier has been community noted that's a strike on Sharan, the Sharan neighborhood, Shahran from last week.
Okay.
And it looked like a big fuel fire, and I think there was some kind of oil and gas facility close by to that neighborhood. So that's been community noted. Again, first reports from the battlefield are always wrong.
Wrong, yep.
That's why, I appreciate President Trump and his frankness and his positiveness, and hopefully he was talking about the success of the bombs being dropped on the target and the crews all getting home safely, and not talking about his goal of eliminating Iran's nuclear capability because, frankly, as someone that's done this for a living all his life, and David can back me up, things just don't work that way.
Yep. Now, I don't know what this is I'm about to show you because we've gotten it wrong along with a lot of other people tonight. So I don't know what that is, but that's circulating by people, including a guy out of Israel that I know who he is, saying that is one of the nuclear sites. Whether that's true or not, we're going to have to put a big question mark on that.
Well, that is what I would expect to have seen at Fort Al, with multiple GBU-57s, more than two, being put into that facility. That's what I would expect to have seen. But who knows what that is? Let's
run to Annie. Annie, are you able to watch our feed?
Yes, I can see everything.
How is that feed, that image of the explosions we just showed, can you verify, confirm?
I can verify it is not Fardo for the fact that nobody would be able to film that unless from a sky, because Fardo is very top of a big mountain in Rome. Residents or normal people wouldn't be around to film it. One thing I can confirm is that after about an hour delay, the Islamic Republic of Iran's news channel has confirmed that Fardo was partially hit. And also they are telling or claiming to people of Iran not to worry about it. There won't be any radiation to be expected because all the enriched uranium have been moved days ago from all three facilities.
Hold right there. We got breaking news. Just 1 second, Annie. The United States military, we're told, is now briefing troops that the strikes on Iran is expected to bring about counterattacks on American bases and facilities across the Middle East, and could also activate Iran-backed and other foreign terrorist groups and cells abroad. Well, that's how we started the broadcast out tonight with the CBS report. Of course, you guys know, our audience knows, I've been banging the desk all week long asking for the president to address the nation, to tell the nation that they should go ahead and stock up on food, stock up on water, make reasonable preparations, because if we decide to go do something, some of these terror cells in the U.S. might do something, and you'll need to be ready. And yet we never heard that. We've heard it from myself, Gordon Chang, many others. Then we finally heard late Thursday, CBS leaked that sources told them the FBI Director Kash Patel was monitoring what are thought to be potential Hezbollah, which is Iran, terror cells in the U.S. So when they say terrorist organization cells abroad. That would include Europe, obviously. That would include America. David, this is, again, what you've been hammering on for years, along with our friend, the late Dr. Peter Price. Speak to this, because now the military is being briefed to be aware in the Middle East as well as abroad.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as everyone stated, this is going to bring about certain Iranian retaliation. It's not going to be pinprick attacks, that don't kill American troops. We're going to see dozens of American troops killed in the initial response. It could be even worse. I mean, they could target a carrier strike group and score a hit on one of our major surface combatants that wouldn't sink it, but it would cause it to catch fire, and it would be an embarrassing hit to U.S. prestige. There's just any number of things that they're hypersonic missiles. The U.S. Navy has no defense against. So if they're in range of our hypersonic missiles, there is a good chance they could score a pretty serious hit. It's not just U.S. troops there. I mean, the homeland itself is completely naked and vulnerable to Iranian or as has been stated, Russian or Chinese cyber attacks, terror attacks. All the pieces are in place for them to respond in a massive way. And it's hard to predict what they're going to do back, but it's hard to see President Trump, absorbing 80 American dead and saying, "Okay, one and done. I still want peace." He's going to respond in kind.
Some breaking news here.
Yep.
Trump has, it's being reported in the New York Times and other places, multiple places, that President Trump has confirmed that six bunker busting bombs were dropped from a B-2 on Fordow. And he says that it was completely obliterated.
That means at least 3 B-2s dropped them. Takes 3 B-2s to drop 6 bombs.
There you go.
Let me go real quick before I go back to Annie, because I know, again, she's scouring the news coming out of Iran, as she, again, speaks Farsi. Annie, maybe check. We're getting reports that one Iranian broadcaster reportedly went on TV, said, "Mr. Trump, you started this, and we're gonna end it, and that your bases are within striking zone." If you can confirm that, let me know. This is what we are being told is ESPN announcing the strikes tonight during a ball game. Here we go. And announcing there'll be a live coverage.
On Iran earlier today, ABC News will have live coverage. He has said, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace." Again, much more. 10 o'clock Eastern Time, ABC News for a live coverage of President Trump's news conference.
Now, again, I don't want to be an alarmist, but if I were the police chief in that town where that game is being held, or any other large gathering of people tonight, my concern, Annie, or I don't know who wants to take this. I guess we'll go to you, David. My concern would be all of these people pouring out of stadiums tonight. How do we know terror cells have not been told in advance? If they strike us, you're activated. That's your go. And the concern would be, how does a city, a metropolitan city, deal with tens of thousands of people pouring out onto the street that are massive soft targets, as we have seen in Dallas a few years ago and other cities where you have gunmen just taking to the streets and randomly killing people? I can't imagine being the chief of police or a mayor in a major city tonight, knowing you have tens of thousands of people pouring out. I would think they would want to surround those people and secure that area outside that stadium right now in anticipation of that game going over and being ready. If you're thinking, as we're being told, the military is saying, be careful of terror cells being activated in the U.S., what are your thoughts on that tonight with these large crowds? David?
Well, there's any number of soft targets throughout the U.S. that are extremely vulnerable to mass terror attacks from any number of hostile forces here in the country. I mean, we've talked about Russian nuclear suitcase bombs that may still be present in the country, left over from just the post-Soviet era. So, and maybe Russia lends some of those to the Iranians. Maybe they hand some to some terror cells that they view as would carry out such an attack to demonstrate that their displeasure with the fact that Trump just attacked one of their military allies or refused peace in Ukraine when Russia was offering it on a silver platter. We just don't have the FBI doesn't have the counterterror resources to be able to cover and protect all of these types of large gatherings of tens of thousands of Americans or more. And so absolutely, the local sheriffs and police departments have got to fill in the slack. But if something like that happens, certainly if we lose our power, I mean, there'll just be total anarchy. The government will collapse, not just the federal government, but most state governments as well. Without the gas stations, the gas pumps working, there won't be any fuel for emergency services, police services. A cyber attack could just take us out. It could be regional, or it could be a nationwide comprehensive cyber attack, which is my greatest fear.
Let's go, Annie. I don't know. Again, I know you're joining us by phone tonight.
Okay, can I say something?
Yep, Leo.
Iranian state TV is now displaying.
You are reading my mind, Leo, because that's exactly where I was going next. Annie, I don't know if you can see our stream, but this is what Iranian state TV is showing tonight, and they've got a map with all our bases.
There you go.
Confirm the reality of this report, Annie?
Yes, that the report is correct. They a few things within that report. They are claiming that President Trump always bluffs, and as of right now, the only report they have are 2 sites, not 3. They also mentioned that, okay, how do I translate this? President Trump, you think you caught us off guard? Wait until morning. I'm taking that as by morning they're going to cut our bases off guard, which wouldn't be off guard. But anyhow, so I can
let me ask you right
those.
there, Annie. Don't you think, they've had how long to prepare for this, right? If Israel planned for 10 years for their Standing Lion attack against Iran, moving a truck with these drones into Iran, flipping some of the Persians or Iranians to Mossad, if they spent 10 years planning that, surely Iran has spent several years planning what they're going to do if there is an attack on them, which includes their terror cells outside of their country, close by, near the bases of America and in the country of America, on our soil. Because I remember a couple years ago, Annie, when something was dusting up here with them, they said to one of the presidents at the time, and I think it was Trump during his first term, be very careful, Mr. President. We are very near. We are very near. And you and I talked about it, others. We thought, well, that sounds to me like they're hinting at they've got their terror cells here. With that being said, how long in advance do you think they have been planning their groups that are out of Iran and near those specific bases?
Well, that's a tough one to answer. They have been planning since 46 years ago. Every time there's a base placed, they're in their situation room planning how to take it down or how to attack it. But not to undermine what could happen to our bases in Middle East and over-exaggerate on what could happen to us here in America. But right now, for last 9 days, Islamic Republic of Iran's quote-unquote military, which is IRGC, has been heavily hit. Okay, they're scrambling. It is way faster, way easier for them to say, pick up the phone, make the call, have 4 big cities in U.S. bombed, then let's go attack 5 bases in Middle East. Does that make sense?
You started it, we'll finish it. But by the way, before you go, the video you were playing, Brannon, that I said I can confirm it is not Fardo. One thing I can clear now is that was a video from 2024, one of Israel's attack on Hezbollah on west of Syria. What about the second video we played with the larger explosion?
The second one is, wait, I'm confused. I only saw one video.
Yeah, we started out the broadcast with one, then we switched to a second that was coming from...
The second one is from Syria.
Okay.
I did not see the first one.
Well, that's interesting because that's coming from a guy that a lot of U.S. ladies seem to have a deep, deep crush on, this Israeli, and he can do no wrong. And we've tried to tell people that he sometimes gets it big time wrong, but they still some of the U.S. ladies have a big crush on this former IDF Israeli. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? But he's gotten
Yes,
he's gotten a lot of stuff wrong. But the ladies in America have a lot of them have a big crush on that guy. That's who was putting that video out there. So we'll blame it on him.
No, that is definitely 2024.
Well, he got it wrong again.
Syria.
Again, he got it wrong. Colonel, you want to jump in?
Well, I'm not surprised. Like I said, the first reports from the battlefield are always wrong. Always wrong. Hopefully the president will have some type of visual evidence. And I hope that the reason why there was talk about ground forces on the ground there is that maybe we had some people in there like the Mossad or IDF folks or some Americans on the ground to observe the target and get some confirmation there. But you're not going to know what the effect on that facility was. And
I'm sorry, that was, keep going. Sorry.
You're not going to know for some time what the full bomb damage assessment is. And if we never get anybody on the ground in there, you're never going to know until somebody gets on that target exactly what you did to it. As far as them moving the radioactive material, we have very sophisticated tracking mechanisms for radioactive material. I highly doubt, it's not impossible, but I highly doubt they were able to move it without us picking up on it.
Interesting you mentioned that as you did, because just as you mentioned it, I saw the video started playing it with the subtitle. They're now claiming on Iranian state TV that they only hit the exit and entry tunnels and that nobody was harmed. And they're talking about their Fordow nuclear facility there. So they're saying that nobody was harmed. Only part damaged at the nuclear site was the entry and the exit tunnels. Now, of course,
well,
I'm not buying that.
Hitting those would be part of the target solution for that. Mm-hmm. They would definitely be hit as part of an air attack.
We will be carrying the president's address to the nation in about 39 minutes if he is on schedule tonight. About 39 minutes, he'll be addressing the country. We're going to carry it. We also can bring in a little bit later another Iranian, former Muslim turned Christian, Shahram Hadian. We might want to reach out, Logan, to Hadia. If you have her, or Hedia, depending on how you say it. If you want to reach out to her, Logan, Hedia, she was with the State Department, former Muslim, now Christian, with the State Department. Her bio is amazing, like that of our other panels. These panelists have amazing bios. She actually surprised us the other night by telling us that she... when I was meeting in a tent with Gaddafi, I was like, wait, and she just kept talking like she didn't say that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, when you were meeting in a tent with Gaddafi, don't pass that over without telling us that story, which she did. I later said to her, did you get a picture with him? She said, no, but he gave me a watch with his own face on the watch, and I still have it. So there you go. That's what everybody wants, is a watch with Gaddafi's face on it, right? Let's see. Yeah, there's so much out there tonight. We have to be careful what we report on. So we'll be careful.
Is the Israeli leadership saying anything yet?
That's a very good question. Let me check. Don't show this yet, Logan. They're supposedly got guards tightly securing a private room with security surrounding the patient's identity at a hospital. Annie, this would be I don't know how you say it. Kata al Anabiya Hospital with and they are putting out there, and it is open source intel, which is a pretty good site. Go ahead and show it, Logan. It is a pretty good site, and in fact, President Trump tweeted them tonight. So obviously he thinks.
If it's Khatam al-Anbiya Hospital, definitely somebody big is in there. That hospital is for big ones.
Well, you see, they got their automatic rifles out, and they're securing the hallway. So.
Is there any way we can full screen that? I'm trying to make sure they are Iranians.
Okay.
It just gets blurrier.
There is absolutely no sign or anything for me to make sure this is not an Arabic hospital. Again, the faces don't tell me much. One thing I do know is we don't have private clothing as securities. That's one thing I know.
Yeah.
They're normally uniformed of IRGC with tennis stars on their head or something. Mm-hmm. But I will look into that.
Yeah, please look into that because you're saying that would be a high value target if they're at that hospital.
If it's at Khatam al-Anbiya Hospital, that is definitely definitely somebody big, if it is that hospital, though.
Now, Iranian military is putting out that the Fordow nuclear facility has been completely emptied and evacuated for several months now. Do you buy that, Annie?
They did not say for a couple of months. They said for a couple of days. But the exact report on the TV, what they said verbally was when we were given the 2 weeks notice. That's when they evacuated the facility.
I'm getting this from a daily Iran military, Annie.
That is not an official thing.
Okay.
Channel.
So you don't think it's several months, but maybe since the, 2 weeks?
When was it? Wednesday they gave him notice? Did President Trump give them a 2 weeks notice Wednesday or Thursday? They're claiming that day is when they started evacuation.
Okay.
Again, claiming right now the Iran TV is going to lie to their teeth. They are the worst to confirm with, because whatever they say is most likely. I'm just monitoring videos and texts coming from citizens.
We are being told that President Trump sent out, Colonel, several decoy bomber aircraft over into the Pacific to manipulate the Iranians, and that the people were saying all day that these planes were too far away from a strike for today, which of course was throwing people off. What, you want to comment on that, Colonel?
Yeah, they took off last night somewhere between 6 and 8, headed towards Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, which is where we have put large bomber forces before at times of crisis to do a couple of things as a deterrent force for the North Koreans if they decided to go nuts. Nowadays, we would apply the same thing to the Chinese if they decided to go nuts. So those aircraft, if in fact they did fly, headed that way, I'm sure they landed and are going to be turned maintenance wise and put on what we call ready alert in case they need to be used on short notice for at least a certain amount of time until we see how this the dust settles around this attack. I understand that. I think the president's intent, I mean, we'll see what he says, that he intends this to be a singular attack, more than likely. That's what it sounds like to me. Unfortunately, though, in war, the enemy gets a vote, Brandon, and we're in the war now. So
we are in the war now.
I mean, we've been at war with Iran since I was 17 years old and joined the Air Force as a young enlisted guy during the hostage crisis. But I mean, we're in this war now.
So how would you tell Americans,
as a nation state,
how would you
beyond terrorism?
How would you tell Americans, Colonel, if you were briefing Americans, and you're obviously briefing our audience, and many of them obviously are Americans. So how would you brief them tonight as far as what they should be doing tonight or tomorrow as far as precautions with these alerts going out that terror cells are a concern even here in the U.S.? What should the average family be doing that's listening tonight?
Yeah, they should be thinking about what Gordon Chang said. You know, make sure you've got water, make sure you've got fuel in your cars, make sure you got canned food, and that kind of thing. What I would tell America is what we've done, what my intention is, what my expectation of further combat activity is, what I hope the Iranians will do. And to be prepared for anything. That's what I would tell them. Hey, Brandon, I'm going to have to break off here for a second.
Yep.
All right.
Do you want to let us know?
But I'll let you know.
Let us know if you want to come back. Just text me or Logan. We'll get you back in. The U.S. president has told Fox News that a total, David, of 6 GBU massive ordnance penetrator, 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs were dropped by the U.S. Air Force B-2A Spirit long-range stealth bombers on that Fordow nuclear facility. What are your thoughts on that, David, as far as what they use? Is that exactly what you expected?
Yeah, from a military perspective, I mean, that's the way to do it is, if Trump's really wanted to do a one and done, each of those GBU-57s are rated to take out targets about 50 meters underground or about 150 square feet. I think it was stated by another Iranian immigrant source that's from a friend of mine that Fort is actually 150 meters deep. So you would have to have essentially perfect explosions down the shaft, with at least three in a row. So that's the way to do it. I mean,
and we're also being told that,
militarily speaking,
Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles were
30 of them.
30 of those were launched from submarines with the U.S. Navy at the Natanz and Isfahan nuclear facilities. Is that also, again, what you would expect, David?
It is, yeah, because those are easier targets. So it would make sense that we would use, submarine-launched missiles for those. Because our submarines are much harder to detect. They can get closer to target than, for example, aircraft carriers with minimal risk to themselves. But I just want to say again that the Ayatollah Khomeini, before this attack occurred, this was just 2 or 3 days ago that I shared with you, threatened irreparable damage to the United States homeland in the event that we attack their nuclear facilities. And we've just done that. What does irreparable damage mean? To me, it means either a super EMP attack that takes out our electronics essentially for good, takes down the grid for good, or a cyber attack that would be very difficult to recover from and could take down our entire country, cause our government to collapse, and our people to starve to death by the millions. So, as has been stated, we haven't seen the end of this. It's just getting started. And, Rob just stated what I told a friend, and that is Iran gets a vote. Trump may think this is over. Iran's going to strike back hard, and how Trump responds to that will determine whether this is in fact a 2-day war, or it's the start of World War III.
Have any of you watched?
I'm sorry, can I come in?
Yeah, please, Annie.
Okay, the same host that you were showing, broadcaster in Iran, just announced from now on, every American civilian and military personnel in the region will be considered a legitimate target, including civilians.
I want to get a response. Oh boy, that's 12 minutes long. I don't want to play 12 minutes, but I wanted to get a response from Mike Benz. How many of you have been following Mike Benz? Most of us have, right? Well, what's interesting, did I send to you guys what he put up today? He put up a very interesting video that was, 12, 15 minutes, 20 minutes long, whatever. And it was clips of the 2022 movie Top Gun, The Last Top Gun. And he said he watched that in 2022 when he was on a flight to kill time. And what he found shocking was that the premise of the movie is that our Top Gunner go in to a mountain range, and they show the mountain range, and he then stops and says the mountain range is very similar to Fort Owl, the way they're describing it in 2022 in this movie with Tom Cruise. And then the president's going in because we have to protect allies. And he says, they don't say Iran, but they do say we got to protect allies. And the way that it's all laid out, he said, this is going like a movie script from 2022. He said, it's like we're going in to do this to protect NATO, members of NATO. And he was very distressed. I don't know if any of you got to watch that this evening. I did before we came on the air. And he's like, I'm a supporter of Israel, but I'm very concerned about what our president is about to do. Have any of you watched that?
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't seen it, but I agree that Iran was likely the model for Top Gun Maverick in terms of that attack. I mean, what other country is essentially that the whole premise of that plot was taking out a country's initial nuclear capability, and what other country do we know of that meets that definition? I don't know of any other than Iran. But one more thing I wanted to say that kind of supports the idea that Trump has contingency planning to make this a very big and a very long war with Iran, and that is he put Vice President J.D. Vance in charge of a working group to pick Iran's new leader. He's they're going through, they're already considering
no, thank you,
killing off the Ayatollah, and it's not the Crown Prince. They right away they X'd out the Crown Prince as the potential Pahlavi as the next Iranian leader. They're looking for some kind of moderate religious figure that is friendly to Israel. And I can't think of any. I don't know Iranian religious circles, obviously, but it seems doubtful that someone like that exists. But maybe in immigrant circles they do have someone like that. But that to me suggests that Trump is much more on board with Netanyahu's regime change objective for this war, and that this the whole idea that it's to eliminate Iran's nuclear production capability is just a pretext for a much longer and greater war that's going to be, the Iraq War II on steroids with a nuclear dimension.
Let me go to a little bit. I don't know what we're all going to watch it for the first time. Mike Benz just put this out. Watch this. Listen.
Immediate take on what just happened. Given this take in the absence of any information whatsoever, we got a truth just now from Trump saying that the U.S. had used the B-2 stealth bombers that they just moved into the area to bomb 3 different sites inside of Iran, three different nuclear facilities, nuclear energy facilities that may have been used for making nuclear weapons. We don't know. That's the allegation. And dropping, quote, a full payload of bombs on Fordrow, the main site that Top Gun Maverick was about. Now, we don't have any information beyond that. And I'm sort of posting this into the vacuum because there are so many questions and so many implications. But I guess I'll just start stream of consciousness with my initial reaction, which is that all of these were nuclear energy sites. And from what he said, it does not imply that there was other military or civilian targets. The first thing that immediately comes to mind is 2018 Syria, when Trump was under a tremendous amount of pressure to basically to declare war on Syria and to do what the Biden administration would do through a military ISIS-led coup against Bashar al-Assad at that time. What Trump did is Trump launched a bunch of missile strikes, but the missile strikes missed, or at least they did very, very little damage, and sort of satisfied the requirement of the perfunctory firing of missiles, which made a lot of people happy that there was military action, but it did not metastasize into a full-scale war. So we don't actually know how extensive the bombing was. We heard a full payload, but we don't know if, for example, bunker buster bombs were used on the nuclear facility, especially Fordrow. The IAEA came out immediately against the Israeli strikes on nuclear facilities, warning of radiation and nuclear fallout from kinetic military attacks on the facilities in week 1. I thought that was very interesting because the IAEA, the failure to comply with the IAEA inspections was sort of the predicate for the attack. And then the IAEA comes out and says, no, don't attack the nuclear facilities. But now we've done that, evidently. We don't know how extensive it is. We don't know if everything's been destroyed. We don't know if there's radiation pouring out of parts of Iran. We don't know. That will be interesting. Whether or not the bunker busters were used or not, I think will determine the perceived severity of what's happened tonight. I have concerns about this. I think like many people do. I'm Jewish. I'm a pro-Israel guy, and I've been very concerned about what I've seen out of the Mark Levin camp in this. I don't think it's good for Israel to have a full-scale war against Iran and to be perceived as dragging the U.S. into it, which is kind of an inescapable aspect of this. This was a unilateral attack against Iran, and you can argue whether it was a good or a bad thing, whether it was a necessary or not necessary thing. I'm not even weighing into that. But the simple fact is the U.S. did not want involvement with this. The U.S. was negotiating a deal with Iran, and it seems fairly indisputable that the attacks on Iran in the midst of those negotiations were to change the course of those negotiations and to make it so that Iran would not be able to escape a deal on unfavorable terms or no deal at all, which gets to the separate question about what was the real reason for the strike. Was it because of nuclear weapons, or was it because a deal might involve sanctions relief that could potentially make Iran's economy capable of pumping back up Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, etc.? The fact is Iran had 60% uranium enrichment over a year ago. Nothing has really changed so far as I know, other than the IAEA inspections failure, which Iran said they did as a negotiating tactic. Effectively, they said, well, the U.S. pulled out of the JCPOA, so we don't need to comply with those inspections requirements. And since we're negotiating a new Iran deal, we're starting from a position of strength by being able to offer the inspections in return for something like sanctions relief. That's what started this whole ball rolling. And then it appears that Israel used that failure to comply, which Iran said they were doing as a negotiating tactic, to say, well, that means they must have the bomb. Might be right, might be wrong. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that area. And frankly, the experts aren't really talking.
Let me hold right there, guys. What do you make of that? Before we go to, we're being joined by former Muslim and Iranian Shahram Hadian as well now on our panel. What do you make of that, David? What he's saying? Again, a Jewish gentleman, I'm for Israel. I'm not Jewish. I'm a righteous Gentile, but I'm like him. I've been very measured about this. I'm for Israel, but I don't think this is a smart idea for America. And he's saying he doesn't even think it's a smart idea for Israel to have done this.
Well, I think I've been pro-Israel my whole life, and I've been really just like an unvarnished supporter of Israel until the Gaza war, and then I've obviously taken major issue with Netanyahu, and I think a lot of his military strikes, while successful militarily, have made Israel much less secure because, when you're dealing with, nuclear power that I believe is nuclear, like Iran, you don't want to be striking them directly. I mean, this is a new historic. I mean, we've seen this between obviously Iran and Pakistan, two nuclear powers attacking each other, but the U.S. has never been involved in striking another potentially nuclear power as we did this evening. But Israel is much less secure today. We've seen that with massive Iranian strikes against Israel. Israel, unfortunately, is running out of missile defense interceptors. They're getting dangerously low, perhaps 7 or 8 days. I think about a week's left at this rate if Iran keeps up the strikes. And so, what happens when they run? They're almost out. Hezbollah still has 150,000 missiles and rockets they could lob at Israeli cities and military targets and rain hell on Tel Aviv. They could cost thousands of Israeli casualties. And that's just a terrible state of affairs. We don't want to see that. So I think Netanyahu is acting against Israeli national security interests. The U.S. has as well, unfortunately, under Trump. I'm not an optimist when it comes to I'm fairly pessimistic as to what we're going to see in the future. But it's just unpredictable. It's Pandora's box that Trump's taken.
Well, speaking of Pandora's box, you just sent me over a Substack by our mutual friend Michael Yon, who says this: Trump is not just at war with Iran. Iran is a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the other NATO. Scroll down.
That's right.
Trump's war will not only be with Iran, but with many others, including China, Russia, Pakistan. China, for one, has extreme interest in the well-being of Iran and has a direct trade connection with Iran. Iran will not run out of ammunition. members, the 10-member state of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization: Belarus, China, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Mongolia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Cambodia, Egypt, Kuwait, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Turkey, United Arab Emirates. You know what? That's that's a very good point he brings up there, David.
Yeah, the SCO, I've been saying for years since it was first formed in 2001, it's a mutual defense pact, not too dissimilar from NATO. It has, China and Russia have held SCO-wide, military exercises, joint military exercises for some time now, and it's got to be on an annual basis. This last exercise they had wasn't just Russian and Chinese troops and naval and air forces. It was troops from, I think, 10 or 11 different countries. And we saw, obviously, the unprecedented solidarity between Russia and China at the Russian Victory Parade on May 9th. So this is a real alliance. Now, just like NATO, Article 5 of NATO, a lot of people misunderstand that. That's not like an ironclad guarantee. That's something, we can fulfill that by sending arms, but not troops. So we could certainly see, and I would expect it's most likely that Russia and China will fulfill their mutual defense obligations to Iran through arms shipments and intelligence sharing, providing targeting just the same way that the U.S. has been providing targeting info to Israel and Ukraine in our proxy wars against Russia and Iran. Russia and China are going to be providing targeting info to U.S. carrier strike groups, to vulnerabilities in U.S. missile defenses on military bases, perhaps even intel that would help them, take down the grid in short order. So those are all possibilities. As Colonel Rob Maness stated, I don't foresee immediate, direct Russian or Chinese kinetic attacks against the U.S. I do think that if this war goes on 2 or 3 weeks, or if the U.S. gets hit hard by Iran, it's almost inevitable that China will act immediately to invade Taiwan.
Let's bring in Shahram. Shahram, born and raised in Iran. His daddy was a high-ranking military official in Iran, got his family out 6 weeks before the fall of the Shah. He joins us tonight. Shahram, what do you think of the developments tonight?
Well, Brandon, thank you for having me on. And I've been listening probably for the last hour to the commentary, excellent commentary. I would say twofold. One is, I think, a measured optimism. I feel a little different in the sense of being measured, because we have been saying for the last number of days that there's one aspect of this Israeli offensive that Israel couldn't do, and that is what just happened tonight. So in that sense, this needed to happen if indeed there is going to be a very strong push against Iran's nuclear capability. I want to remind everybody on the panel, as we're talking about geopolitics and the national security aspects, the one area I guess that maybe I can lend here, Brandon, is the spiritual side of things.
Yes.
Number one, the ideology in Iran, it has been since 1979, is that the Iranians believe, and this is not hearsay, this is Islamic eschatology. They believe that they have to do everything they can to not only take out their enemies, but usher in this Islamic Messiah and an Islamic world order. Now, yes, there's the difference of pecking order between them and the Sunnis. But bottom line is that has been the consistent view of this regime. They believe that Ruhollah Khomeini, 1979, was the Messiah until he died in 1989. The Guardian Council took over in 1989. Their viewpoint is they must take out Israel. So I'm still bewildered that we're saying here that there's some sort of negotiation with this regime. There is no negotiation with this regime. This regime will lie because Islam lies. This regime will never have peace. They will never seek to get along and allow Israel to exist. So at some point, this has got to come to a head. And I think that is the moment. Now, I agree with all the commentary about all of the collateral damage and all the things from a national security standpoint. I agree with the comments earlier that our FBI and our national security is woefully ignorant and ready right now for what can happen on American soil. Brandon, you and I have talked about that many times. They do not know the threat. They are not prepared for the threat. The Joint Terrorism Task Force locally are not prepared for what they're going to see potentially in the coming days, weeks, months. But this was the one piece that had to happen for this thing to completely collapse in Iran. And tonight it has happened. So I am, again, just to bring it full around, and I'll turn it back to you. I am optimistic in that sense that Trump did do this. But of course, there's now all the potentials of the fallout. But this is the one piece that Israel could not do. And the other piece is the United States has got to rearm Israel so that they can finish off this regime.
Here's what neocon, and I think was a never Trumper. Wasn't Mark Levin a never Trumper, guys, initially?
Initially, he was back in 2015.
All right. Congratulations to our great commander-in-chief and our great military, and a grateful nation thanks you. He has also tweeted out of another thread from him. Here we go. Watch as neocon Mark Levin live on Fox News says, "Don't you feel relief? Of course you feel relief, because these Islamo-Nazis were building nuclear weapons to attack us too." Well, again, there seemed to be evidence from former CIA analyst Peter Pry. They've had a weapon since 2015. But for Mark Levin to say, "Don't you feel relief," shows you, in my opinion, how stupid the man really is. Because the last thing you'd be feeling tonight is relief. You'd be feeling what all the rest of us are feeling like is, does the country realize the potential internal threats now? Even the FBI director put it out, and it got to CBS News. But Mark Levin, I guess, is going to sleep really well tonight. Is this man stupid, or is he just evil? I'm just giving you my opinion tonight. But Mark's welcome on the show, but I don't think he has the guts to come on my show. What do you think, Leo?
Well, it's interesting that he talks about the Islamo-Nazis in Iran, but he supports the Nazis in Ukraine.
Doesn't he also interview here, real quick, Annie, a guy that likes to run around in a suit? What's the Islamic dude he likes to always interview in a suit? What's his name? We've talked about it many times, Annie.
I know, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name too, and I know exactly.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I mean, hasn't he run around? So if he's still worried about Islam, why is he playing patty cake with that guy?
Because he believes in radical versus moderate.
Are you talking about Zuhdi Jasser?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Zuhdi Jasser.
Yes. Yeah, he's had Zuhdi Jasser on so many times.
Zuhdi is supposedly a reformer, so a lot of these people. I know, but I'm saying why they would have him on the show, because they believe in radical, who reformers are turning into moderate.
Exactly.
But that's foolishness, because how can you have a moderate Islam when you're reading the Quran and the Hadiths, right?
Exactly. There's no reforming Islam. There's no moderate Islam. Reforming Islam would be to completely dismantle Islam.
There are Muslims like your mom and dad who didn't practice. Your dad, a beer-drinking, pork-eating Muslim, but he wasn't a moderate Muslim because he was reading the Quran and just chose to throw out segments of the Quran, right? No,
exactly. He was a moderate, quote, moderate Muslim because he was a career military officer under the Shah. He was a terrible practicing Muslim in the sense of actually reading the Quran, praying, not drinking alcohol, not eating pork. I mean, he was a terrible Muslim in that sense because he went to military academy when he was 17 years old, served under the Shah of Iran. He took early retirement, again, because of the fact that he saw what was coming. He was actually scheduled to be, he was a full bird colonel, and he was scheduled to get an advancement to a general because he was a liaison officer. But anyway, all that to say, exactly, you're right about Mark Levin and these. I mean,
how can he say, "Don't you feel relief tonight, Leo"?
He lives in a different world, Brandon. He lives in the neocon world. He's giddy. He's happy, just like Lindsey Graham, just like Tom Cotton. These guys lived and breathe war. I mean, if America is not involved in a war, they're not happy. I don't know if it's because they're invested heavily in military industrial stocks. I don't know. I don't want to judge their motives. Maybe they're actually convinced that this is good for America, good for Israel. I personally don't see it. I see America as less safe tonight, than we were yesterday. And that's just a fact. And
All right,
so
yeah.
if you're truly America first, then I don't see how you're happy. You might have measured some sort of measured optimism, as Shahram has expressed, but you're still going to have the concerns. You're not going to say, I'm going to bed and I'm going to be relieved and I'm going to sleep better tonight.
No, absolutely not. Here is I guess in English, we're here for the first time together. I guess this is an English statement by Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
All right, now here's the problem. I want to go back to this right here.
But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons.
Really? Did he? Or do they already have these weapons, David? Because, again, state TV over there in Iran is putting out, what you can believe from state TV, that they've only damaged the entrance and the exit of Fordow, and that all is fine other than that. But how do we know they don't have other weapons? How do we know they don't have nuclear suitcase weapons? How do we know that don't have weapons they can put on drones? How do we know they don't have Club K cargo systems that are in great detail in my documentary Sabotage in 2018? How do we know they don't have those already positioned in places in the Middle East or in America already, or off our shores, or on a cargo ship? How can you make a statement that we've deprived them of these weapons when we don't know, particularly with the miniaturized size of weaponry today?
Well, that's exactly right, because the U.S. and Israel haven't targeted Iran's nuclear missile silos. Their nuclear missile silos remain unscathed. Now, some people will disagree with my assessment. They already have nuclear weapons, but those MRBMs and perhaps IRBMs that with mobile launcher erector systems are still there, and they could be rolled out at a moment's notice and pop off some missiles against Israel through the silo doors. And they may have MRBMs, which are on cargo ships or on container ships 200 miles off the coast of D.C. or New York City, and we won't know about them until it will have 5 minutes warning time and no missile defenses to shoot them down. So the U.S. is very good at creating existential threats. Trump had the opportunity to make peace with Russia as past U.S. presidents to entirely eliminate the Russian nuclear threat. He chose not to do that. He had the opportunity to make a lasting peace agreement with Iran. They had a 5-point peace, a nuke deal. As Annie said, maybe they would have completely violated it, as they kind of maybe did the last time with the Obama deal. But the point is, he's had the opportunity to have peace. He's had the opportunity to eliminate these threats because, nuclear threats are determined by both intent and capability. We know that Russia and China could destroy us and wipe us off the face of the earth. And North Korea could as well. I believe Iran could as well with super EMP attack. Satellites at a moment's notice with no warning. But if they don't have the intent, if we have good relations with all of our enemies, and we don't try to confront them militarily to the maximum extent as we've done tonight, then we can ensure the security and safety and long-term survivability of the United States of America. And Trump's done the exact opposite tonight, and I think history will not look kindly upon what he's done tonight. And he's really just, I think, another thing I wanted to say is that Netanyahu, this night will be remembered as a massive success for Israeli intelligence of the Mossad with this disinformation campaign where they've used essentially Israeli agents in terms of CIA Director Ratcliffe and CENTCOM Commanding General Kurilla and others, Rubio, of course, and Waltz, to persuade the president that an Iranian nuclear threat is imminent where it wasn't. And I'm saying that as someone who's who despises the Iranian terror regime and thinks we'd all be better off without him. But you just can't make these kind of these attacks against potentially nuclear armed powers that have the ability to potentially destroy you or severely damage your critical infrastructure and kill millions of Americans and believe that they're not going to do something in response.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to.
If I could just add to that.
Just so the audience knows real quick, Leo, we're going to go any moment to the president, so we'll break in as soon as he starts. Go ahead, Leo.
Okay, I agree with everything David said. I'd just like to add that, what kind of a message does this send to the rest of the world? If you're going to develop a nuclear weapon, you need to be ultra stealth about it. You need to not be forthcoming whatsoever. You need to keep it a complete secret and then just announce it when you have the weapon ready. This is the lesson of history tonight, because if you develop a nuclear weapon and you've not been approved by the United States to have said weapon, then you're going to come under a monstrous attack. And so, think of all the other countries that might be thinking about having nuclear weapons and feel like they might be safer with a nuclear weapon, not because they want to use it to wipe Israel off the map or wipe America off of the map, but just as a defensive sort of backstop. They are now being told by America that you better keep it secret, because we will take it upon ourselves to end your program, to bomb you to smithereens. And
thank you very much.
Okay, here's the president.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight. and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President with Marco Rubio, VP Vance, and Secretary of Defense Hegseth. I don't know that I've seen a president walk out with those three people from his cabinet and give a speech after bombing. I mean, maybe it's happened and I don't remember. I don't know. It's all, you know, Vance has kind of been a little concerned about this thing and pushing back on it a little bit, but he just walked out there, so he's got to jump on board. He's the VP. But yeah, all those three guys now, they stood there. So I don't know. The optics of that was interesting. What did you make of that, Pine?
Well, I do think it was very interesting because from all reports, J.D. Vance has been helping to lead the opposition against this whole plan of Trump's to attack and bomb Iran's nuclear sites from behind the scenes. And Hegseth has been on board with more on the Vance side, and both of, well, it's hard to, you can't really exclude the vice president from national security meetings, but Trump has reportedly done that to Tulsi Gabbard, of course, who's been the most impassioned voice against World War III, a potential nuclear war with Iran, and that could spread to Russia and China as well. And then Hegseth has also, despite his bombastic tweets or true social posts against Iran, behind the scenes, he's expressed a lot of reservations that bombing Iran is a good idea. I think he was fine with when Israel was doing it on its own, but the idea of starting a war with a large power like Iran that could make the Iraq war look like child's play, while inviting massive risks on the U.S. are quite substantial. In the same report that I sent you earlier that you quoted from, talking about how Ratcliffe was essentially an Israeli agent, Kurilla is as well. Said that Trump was really just listening to those two and Rubio and Waltz, really, essentially. So the fact that Rubio was by his side and Hegseth was kind of the man out, I thought was interesting. You could say that was because of the presidential order of succession, but I do think that there was some symbolism that Hegseth may be on his way out, or he's just simply not one of Trump's close advisors, certainly not on Iran.
And of course, I want to have response from the rest of you. But again, we're also getting confirmation from overseas that the Fordo's nuclear facility was completely destroyed using 6 huge bunker buster bombs. The nuclear facilities at Nantes and Isfahan were destroyed with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines. And of course, we pray that nothing happens. We pray that, absolutely nothing happens and life goes on as usual tomorrow and for the next several weeks. I have no idea what capabilities they have here, and I have no idea what's going to happen. But we should all be very alert, as always, and it's going to be some very interesting days as we get ready to wrap here. Leo, what did you make of the president's address?
I thought it was very short. He didn't say anything about Americans should be preparing. It was just brief and very jingoistic. I don't know how else to describe it. America's great. America's the best. Take note, Iran, he did threaten more attacks, you notice, if Iran does not, basically it would square with his call earlier in the week that Iran not just needs to give up its nuclear program, but needs to have an unconditional surrender. That was followed up tonight with the threat that if Iran does not stop, that there will be more attacks. So America now owns this war. This is Donald Trump's war now. And we'll see what comes of that. You may be right, Brandon. We don't know exactly. We don't have a crystal ball here. And so maybe this will be it. Maybe Iran will, the Mullah regime will, do an unconditional surrender, and we'll have a new regime, and the Persian people will be free. And that could happen within days or weeks, and we would all be happy. The other scenario, I think we've laid out pretty well here tonight, and it's not pretty. So we all need to be on our knees tonight praying, for the former and not the latter.
And Iran is announcing they're going to pursue legal action against the United States. Sharam?
Well, I'm not sure about the fruitfulness of that action with the corrupt United Nations. What are they going to do? Put sanctions on one of the voting members in the UN, which is the U.S. No, I echo what Leo just said. That obviously, and what you said, Brandon, that we're praying for the best outcome here. We obviously need to prepare, and that was I'm not surprised by the demeanor of the president. He had to be strong, correct? I mean, he's got to come out as the president of the United States and communicate the strength. He's got to communicate that we are the United States and we're the big kid on the block. Like if you're dealing with a threat to your, an enemy to your house, you want to communicate in strength so they don't do it again. So I'm not surprised by that part of it, but I am surprised that he said nothing about just be vigilant, be praying, anything regarding that. And I honestly, again, as I said before, as I said all in the last 8-9 days, I'm still concerned about the proxies of Iran. I think that's still the greatest threat. I'm not as concerned about their military capability because I think it's been diminished much further than we maybe are realizing from what has been going on, the potential defections, the ones who were turned, as you said earlier, by Mossad or by the Israeli intelligence. So I'm not saying that Iran cannot strike back. The greater concern probably remains with what you said earlier with China and that joint agreement. But I will say this, and again, I'm not trying to be argumentative tonight at all, but I will say this. My disagreement here with the panel would be only this, that there is no lasting peace with the current Iran. There is nothing lasting about what is going to happen. So we know Iran is in Bible prophecy. We know there are things that have to happen. There is an element that history has to go forward. So if I'm excited for any part of this is because God's word is moving forward. God's word is coming to fruition with what has got to happen. God is going to put a hook in these nations that will come against Israel. So I'm not excited. I'm just saying I'm excited that God's word is true, but also that there is no lasting peace with Iran as it is. None whatsoever. That is not a factual statement in the reality of what Islam is. Geopolitically, you can try all day long. But from an ideological, spiritual standpoint, that is not what the Bible tells us, and that is not what the eschatology and ideology of this regime has been for the last 46 years and the oppression. So I'm praying for the Iranian people. I'm praying for protection tonight. I posted it earlier. By the way, Sean Hannity, I don't know why, but he posted that video of the mountain blowing up. So again, if that's not true, they're all posting the wrong thing. But I'll end with that. I'm just praying for wisdom, for protection, and may we individually just prepare our own homes and families for anything that could happen.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know if we have Annie back. Annie, are you back with a closing comment? All right, he was working to get her back. Let's go real quick to Colonel Manus. Colonel Manus, what do you think of the president's address?
Is that this is our war now? That's what I heard. I don't know. What did you guys hear?
That's what we've all. That's what
I
just said.
One and done. Yep. We're just doing this because we're the only ones with the capability. I heard this is our war.
That's what Leo just said, and the other panelists were all saying. And that's what's going on online now, that this is now President Trump's war. So should anything further happen, the shutting down of the Straits of Hormuz, anything like this kind of thing, and it ripples across the economy, President Trump is not going to blame that on the feds or anybody else. That'll be what his administration did. Is that true, Colonel?
Yeah, and the Iranians' most effective weaponry that they have today is sea mines.
Sea mines?
Sea mines, yeah. I mean, their Navy is really ineffective. Their Air Force is decimated. There aren't, your ground army may be big and it may have tanks and everything, but without air power into 21st century warfare, you're pretty much done. I mean, I don't know if David will agree with me on that or not, but they're not going to do much with that. But they can lay sea mines in the Straits of Hormuz and close that off, and I would expect to see that happen. But they're going to fire their missiles at our bases and those kind of things. But the ships have been moved out of Bahrain, all the aircraft out of Qatar, the big air base at Al Udeid in Qatar have been evacuated out of there. But we still have people in the region. They're going to hit them. That's my opinion.
But Brandon, yep. there will be defections out of the Iranian military.
There will be
defections. There will be. I guarantee you there are going to be many defections. Look, history is repeating itself. This happened the other way in 1979. This is what my dad witnessed the other way, towards the Islamic communist coup. I believe the same thing. And again, talking to people in Iran, all week I've been talking to people in Iran or sources in Iran. The mood is they're just waiting for the time. Maybe it was tonight. I don't know, because many Iranians were waiting for the U.S. to do something. But there will be many defections. They just need the opportunity. And I'm not dismissing, the potential, but within the country, within their armed services. By the way, I don't know if Annie covered this earlier. Well, actually, Annie posted on this, but I saw this earlier too. There is that movement. The former wife of the Shah, Farah Pahlavi, had put out a plea to those in the Basij, those in the army, those in the police. Since 2022, sources in Iran have been saying that privately, many of those on the ground troops, just like we said in America, right, where the upper echelon of our military is so corrupt, but the average rank and file, they're patriots for the most part. I think the same is true in Iran, and they're going to side with the Iranian people. They just need the chance to do so. So I could be wrong, but that's my sense, my discernment is there's going to be a huge number of defections if this just goes a little further in Iran, speaking of the situation there.
And I don't disagree, but nobody under 35 years old in this country agrees with this at all. Not one person. Nobody agrees with this. They've seen us get into these extended wars and kill thousands of Americans and hundreds of thousands of folks that live in these countries, and they've been abject failures in our foreign policy. And I hope the Iranian people rise up and they're willing to spill their own blood for their freedom, because the young people in this country are going to oppose it and they're going to protest. And if it comes to this president putting our children in there, their parents are going to protest it too, because we've had enough of trying to create democracies in countries that aren't willing to fight for themselves. So I've been encouraging that all week, that the Shah's people or the Crown Prince's people and the folks at the NCRI need to be coming together and working together and activate their personnel inside this country and get this ball moving, because nobody in the United States of America that doesn't have power, and I'm talking about the under 35s and their parents, is going to support the United States rolling in to this country and doing a regime change or putting any boots on the ground whatsoever.
And the Shah tonight, right now, coming out, is calling for the security forces of Iran not to show up to work.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
Yes.
If that happens, that's great. But it's never happened before. How far do we have to go? What do you mean?
Well, that's not.
It's got to go a little bit further. No,
I would
sir,
disagree.
I totally disagree that we need to go any further than this. But it's going to go.
I didn't say that,
and nobody.
I did
even
not
knows.
say that. No, I did not say we need to go further. I did not say we need to go further. All along, I've said to let Israel do what Israel needed to do. What I said earlier was this is the only piece of the puzzle that Israel could not do. I'm not advocating for us to go any further, and I'm not advocating for American boots on the ground. I agree with you that these endless wars, and I'm not advocating for the U.S. to be involved in any type of regime change here. What we're saying is that by the way, the only thing that is different than the Iranian people have spilled their blood, right? Again and again and again and again. But what they have not gotten is the moral support of America in the past from other administrations. Now, again, we could argue about tonight and whether what the ramifications will be. I pray that this will not be America's war. I pray that this will not.
It already is. It is America's war
now.
I pray that it is not going to be something that we have to.
I agree with you. I pray that too, but it already is, unfortunately. And the little further that's got to be done is going to be done by the United States of America, because the president, as much as he wants peace, and he said that in his speech tonight, end this now, Iran, and I know that that's not going to happen as long as there's a breathing IRGC member that has any power and capability inside of that country. We all know that. So the little further that's got to be done is going to be done by the United States of America, or it's not. And he said tonight that he told the American people, at least with my ears and my wife's ears, who is not a national security expert, I asked her what she heard. She said, "It's our war now."
Yeah, and he said we may do more strikes, right, Colonel?
Yeah.
Yes.
He said we may do more strikes.
Well, he has to. He has to, because they're going to fire on our people, and they're going to kill Americans, and they're going to kill the people that work with us and our friends in those countries. They're probably going to kill some of their own people publicly, because as our friends on this panel all know, they're just mean, nasty, inhumane animals in that regime, and they're going to publicly execute some people. They probably won't even know for sure if they're people helping the Israelis or the Americans, but they will, because they've been looking for them for a while, and they'll probably just make it up to make the point.
Take a look at this.
There's going to be a lot of death. There's going to be a lot of destruction. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope none of this happens, and the Ayatollah comes out in a couple hours and says, "Okay, we're done. We give up." I would love to see that, but I don't think that's going to happen. And now it's our war.
And to your point, Colonel, Annie Cyrus is on a call with someone in Iran right now, but look at her Substack she just posted. Trump just made this his war. This is her Substack tonight. The U.S. just bombed Iran's nuclear core. Fellow patriots, if you believe this work, okay, they're going down here. She went on to talk about before Trump's self-imposed 2-week deadline expired, the United States launched a full-scale military strike on Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, 3 of Iran's most hardened nuclear sites. The world saw headlines about decisive action. The president called it a very successful operation. But let's be clear about what really happened. This strike was uncalled for. 2 days before the U.S. attack, Israeli officials privately told their American counterparts, "We may not wait for the full 2 weeks." Translation, "We've got this. You don't need to intervene." But the United States jumped the gun, dispatching B-2 bombers, finalizing target packages, and effectively hijacking an operation Israel already had under control. What changed? The answer isn't strategy, it's politics. I say this is not as a pundit, but as someone who has lived under the shadow of U.S. foreign policy her entire life. As an American, I don't want our troops dragged into a war with a war that was already over. As an Iranian, I've seen what happens when foreign powers step in to, quote, help, in quote, a people that don't understand and can't control. We've done this before. 53, the CIA overthrows elected prime minister and installs the Shah. 79, the blowback helps fuel the rise of the Islamic Republic. 2003, we removed Saddam Hussein, only to empower Iranian militias. 2011, we bombed Libya into collapse and hand it to Islamist warlords. In every case, the goal was control. The result was a disaster. Trump claimed he would end regime change wars. Instead, he just escalated one for ego and influence. Israel did in 9 days what shocked the world, crippling Iran's power structure, exposing its vulnerabilities, and proving the regime was never the monster the West made it out to be. Trump didn't intervene to lead. He intervened to headline. And now that the fire's lit, watch how fast the blame shifts. When the backlash comes, when embassies burn, oil prices skyrocket, and sleeper cells activate, Washington will do what it always does. Israel forced our hand. We were just supporting an ally. We didn't want this war. They dragged us into it. They begged us for help. The narrative is already loading. Closing comment by each and every one of you guys. Let's go with you first, Leo.
Wow, powerful words there from Annie. Agree with most of it. But, I will say Benjamin Netanyahu looked awfully happy tonight.
He did, didn't he?
The only thing I might disagree with Annie on is that, the U.S. jumped the gun. I think this was planned in concert with Bibi Netanyahu. I think this was the one component of the war that he started the war, but he didn't have the full capability of ending it. And he leaned on his old friend, Donald Trump. They've been friends since the 1980s. And he said, Don, I need you to finish this. And he was all too happy to oblige.
LeoHolman.com, LeoHolman.substack.com. Leo, thank you for interrupting your Saturday night. Closing comment by you, David Pine.
I think President Trump has put a target on the backs of 60,000 American servicemen in theater, 286 million Americans. America is less safe, less secure tonight. We're more vulnerable to, there's a greater chance of nuclear war on U.S. soil than there's ever been in terms of super EMP attack, cyber attack, nuclear attack. Trump this is a transformational moment for his presidency. He will be remembered if things happen the way we think they will. He will be remembered as a failed president who helped to hurt America. Get thousands of Americans killed. Best case, perhaps millions, perhaps even destroy the country. And did so for a foreign power against U.S. national security interests when there was no imminent threat. This war has the support of 19% of MAGA voters. It's an unpopular war, as Colonel Rob Maness has stated, and Democrats are going to hang this war around his neck. Everything bad that happens from here out, including the recent closure of the Strait of Hormuz to European oil tankers and rising gas prices, will be hung around his neck. We'll see a massive Democrat wave election in the midterms, barring a miracle. But I don't. There's zero chance of Iran, surrendering to bombers in the air. There's no U.S. ground forces deployed along Iran's borders, so there's no one to surrender to. They're not going to surrender. They're going to fight to the death. That's what they've been saying they'll do, and it's not going to end well for America or Israel.
I guess, again, I cannot confirm, but apparently the Khomeini is back out talking about the U.S. entering the wars 100% to its own detriment. We also, again, I cannot confirm, but there are reports that Iranian officials are saying that they are going to not let fuel ships pass through the Straits of Hormuz. So again, are we about to see oil prices and everything that was just said by David? Closing comment yet to David is daviddpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. We'll have Colonel Maness close last. Shahram is tilministry.com, tlministry.com. Again, tilministry.com. Closing comment from you tonight, Shahram, and also thank you for interrupting your Saturday night, as well as David Pine, as well as Leo, as well as Colonel. Go ahead, Shahram.
Well, I'm just in prayer. As I said earlier, I'll stick with my initial discernment that I'm just praying, obviously, for what would be the Lord's will in all this. And obviously, it's a very serious moment in America, in the world. But let us pray that God can intervene and bring about the outcome that His will demands and history and prophecy speak of. So this is a very challenging moment, but I do pray that the Iranian people will arise. And I do pray that America will prepare itself against the threats that we have here at home as well, that this would refocus us to better prepare for what is here in America that we've been dealing with. The Islamic threat is not going to go away because of what happens in Iran. That's going to be there, but it's a very sobering moment, but one that, again, for my perspective, I pray that the Iranian people will rise up and make the best of this opportunity. That's the best outcome there, and potentially for the world, if that can happen.
We are getting confirmation from Annie, who's texting with me, who's on the phone call with someone from Iran, that she can confirm that story about the oil and them saying that they're going to stop fuel ships from coming through the Straits of Hormuz. We cannot confirm the comment yet by Khomeini. Closing comment from Colonel Manus. His website, by the way, is robmanus.com. He's on every day, 2 to 3 Central right here at World YouTube, and that's 3 Eastern Standard to 4 every day, Monday through Friday. robmanus.com is his website. Closing comment, and Colonel, thank you to you for giving up part of your Saturday night as well.
Oh, thank you, Brandon, for doing this. I appreciate all the work that y'all and the team are doing at World YouTube, and the folks on the panel. Thank you all very much for what the Cartoon Network, Fox News, and all of the crazy people that have been pushing this president to do this like you to forget and don't like to talk about is that the enemy always gets a vote 100% of the time. And look, I know the president's intentions are true. He choked up at the end of his speech tonight. I don't attribute anything nefarious to his actions or his thinking. I think that he went through a deliberative process, even though he was talking to Bibi Netanyahu from the very beginning and planning this. I still think he went through a very deliberative process to try to give diplomacy another chance. But unfortunately, this decision was made. And now, if you hear his words tonight in his speech, this is his war and America's war. It's unfortunate, but that's where it is. The strikes appear to be successful from the perspective of getting to the targets, attacking the targets successfully, and getting everybody home back to their bases. And now we wait for the response from the Iranians, both from within their country and inside our own country. And Shahram is exactly right. We need to be paying very close attention to our internal defenses here in this country right now. And we need to pray for our troops that are overseas and our friends in the countries that are our friends and our friends that are inside Iran even. Pray for them and pray to God that what happens next is not what usually happens. And maybe the Ayatollah will come out and say, okay, we're done. I don't expect that, though. So be prepared. Pay attention.
Well, in regards to that, be prepared. Annie is telling me Iran broadcast just called on even civilians on the region to take revenge. So I guess that would mean, again, any one individual can do a lot of damage in a crowded mall or crowded grocery store. So we've seen the nut jobs coming out for, for Hamas.
Even our military installations here in America are soft targets. We've seen that over and over again. We've talked about that.
Indeed, we have. And by the way, we got breaking news. It is now coming out here in Memphis. It is just coming out in the last 17 minutes. is being reported by the Daily Memphian here in the Memphis, Tennessee area. The founder of FedEx, Fred Smith, has passed away at the age of 80. So that's a big deal here to us in the Mid-South. FedEx being headquartered and founded here. Big news tonight, breaking news too on that as well. So condolences to him and his family. That'll be making a lot of news for us here in the Mid-South. Sure, a big, big funeral, but that'll be making big news across the country as well. So interesting timing on that tonight. I want to thank everybody for being on the panel tonight. Again, it's 9:34 Central, 10:34 Eastern Standard. I want to thank all of you for your great analysis and speaking the truth. And I think you're a part of a network, guys, that I know is growing. Logan, our Vice President of Operations, has told me several times this week, our numbers are larger than they've ever been. We're growing rapidly. So I want to thank all of you for helping make that so. We get so many compliments about every one of you. And I'm not just saying that. We get emails naming each one in this screen. Annie, they all get named. People, have their favorites. They have the people they really like, but they like all of you, and they appreciate these panels. And I would say that more that you have Sean Hannity and the likes of Mark Levin, in my opinion, cheering on this, I think the more numbers will drop at Fox. And I think networks like this that will present the truth and put up panels like this are going to increasingly grow. And we're thankful you guys are a part of our team. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
And thank you to Annie as well, who had to hop off the phone to take a call from Iran, no less. Now, folks, we've been broadcasting now for a little more than 2 hours. A little more than 2 hours. 2 hours last Saturday, 2 hours last Sunday, 2 hours tonight on a Saturday. We didn't stop for one commercial break. Do you appreciate what we're doing? If you do, will you go right now to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution? Worldviewfoundation.com. If you make a contribution, we send out our receipts with our EIN number about the first week of every February. So please consider going there now. Remember, our foundation also brings you our Sunday night church service that I'm endeavoring to teach tomorrow night, barring breaking news, which is as I continue my series teaching through the book of Revelation. I'm on Revelation chapter 17 right now. So again, we need your support to do this. Do you appreciate what we're doing? If you do, we need your support. I cannot stress that enough. We just went over 2 hours, didn't drop in for one commercial break. Again, we've had to call people in to work on the weekend. It's one thing for me to work. That's not a big deal. But when I call people in, they all get on the clock, and then I have to start paying them. So, folks, it's very important. If we do these kind of broadcasts, breaking news like we do, coming in, doing 7 days a week, that we have the budgets to do them. So we really need your support. Consider going now, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You can also go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, and find out about all the great products that we use ourselves, that I use, like Bella Grace. I take it each and every day, a powerful elixir with 3 powerful ingredients, 80 clinical trials behind it. Gatatana, Numi, which is loaded with glutathione to detox your cells. I do these 3 things every day. So it's no joke, folks. There's clinical trials behind these things, and they're great products, and we only promote and push what we use and we believe in and we endorse. This would be a great time, by the way, for you to go to worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. This would be a great time to pick up a satellite phone if you don't have one. This is my satellite phone. Should the power grid go down, should cell towers go down, I can go outside, acquire a satellite, and make a phone call to other family members that have satellite phones as well. Do you have a satellite phone? They are free when you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans. You can also go to the Worldview Talk website, and you can find out about their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400. You can find out about all of those things. Even the Starlink, that's free. You can get Starlink for free if you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans for 12 months. And Starlink is battery operated, can be, so if the power grid goes down, pop a battery in it, and you're still getting internet and news. By the way, they also have a travel case as well for that, for the Starlink. But do check out worldviewtalk.com. If you prefer to use their phone number, you'll find it on the site. I dare not give it out. Logan is... Well, I'll tell you what it is, 1-866-738-3224. There it is, 1-866-738-3224. 1-888-738-3224. Again, 1-866-738-3224. Just tell me you heard about it on Brandon House Live, and that helps support our broadcast as well. But again, the most powerful way you can support us is simply going to worldviewfoundation.com. So please consider doing that. Worldviewfoundation.com. Pray for the country. Pray for the president. We may not always agree with what he's doing like tonight, but we certainly agree that we should pray for him. The Bible commands us to pray for our elected officials. Pray for President Trump to have wisdom and discernment. Pray for those around him. Pray for our country. Pray for our military overseas, many of them that are in harm's way tonight and being threatened by Iran. Again, as I like to say each and every night, may God save America. We mean that, and I hope you'll pray about that. And pray for us as we pray for you. And thank you again to all of you that support our network, that send us so many nice emails, texts, handwritten letters. I want to thank all of you that are faithful supporters. There's a small little collection of you that really keep this network going. A lot of other people benefit from your support. So thank you for helping us keep the network going. This has been a special broadcast here on this evening, June 21st, 2025. America has gone to war with Iran. We will break in as warranted. But for now, from our Mid-South studios, I'm Brandon House. Thanks for watching. Take care.
True beauty isn't applied,